Welcome to Auto Life channel. Pros and cons of hybrid cars, what you need to know. Hybrid electric vehicles are becoming more popular each day. Some of the benefits of owning a hybrid car include they consume less gas, you'll save some money, and they're a little quieter. They often require less maintenance. You can idle your car without the engine on because of the hybrid battery. The accessories run on electric motors. There is no drive belt. Some of the drawbacks of owning a hybrid car include higher upfront costs. Maintenance can be expensive when it's needed. They still produce fuel emissions. With hybrid electric vehicles, you can avoid making frequent trips to the gas station thanks to the efficient engines and the options to switch to electricity for fuel. However, it can be difficult to estimate just how much you can save, since saving depends heavily on your own driving habits, your reliance on gas for power, your area, and more. Hybrid cars are much quieter than traditional gasoline-powered vehicles, thanks to their electric motors. In fact, they're so quiet that the U.S. had to pass laws to require both hybrids and electric vehicles to make audible sounds when traveling at certain speeds because of safety concerns. Hybrid cars often require less maintenance. Because hybrid cars have two sources of power, the gasoline engine and electric motor, there is less regular wear and tear on the car's engine. This often means less need for oil or coolant and fewer routine maintenance costs than cars that rely solely on combustion fuel engines. Admittedly, maintenance costs can vary depending on the type of hybrid car you have, so make sure to do a bit of research on specific makes and models. You won't experience range anxiety with your hybrid car. One of the biggest downsides of electric vehicles is range anxiety, or the fear that you won't have a high enough charge to make the distance from one charging station to another. Heightened by the lack of electric car charging stations in some areas, you don't have to worry about this with a hybrid vehicle. When your battery runs out of electricity, the car will switch to using gasoline in your tank. Hybrid cars typically cost more upfront. You shouldn't expect to pay the same for every hybrid that you would for a luxury vehicle, but generally speaking, hybrids tend to cost more to lease or buy than comparable gasoline-powered alternatives. You can make up for this in fuel savings, but if you're going to switch to a hybrid, you likely have to accept paying a higher price up front. When maintenance is needed, it can be more expensive for hybrid cars. Hybrid cars typically require less regular maintenance than cars that run on combustion engines. However, if maintenance is necessary, it can be more expensive than the other types of cars, especially if you have to replace the battery. How good is this hybrid battery? This battery is over 5 years old, and I have not started this car in over a week. And the engine didn't start because it still has power left in the cells. And this is as you can see, 481,778. Most hybrid car manufacturers warranty their batteries for 10 years, and many batteries are designed to last more than 150,000 miles. If you end up needing to replace a hybrid battery, it can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $8,000. So here you have the Toyota Cross Hybrid.
It was nice. It was very straightforward, easy to figure out. Everything was within easy reach. That is something that was not offensive.
Yeah, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto for the base model. That it definitely is nice to have and worked well in this car.
Yeah, for me, it's an upgrade over older Toyota infotainment systems.
Yes.
It's not necessarily getting to class leading, but it's certainly better. But we should definitely talk about that fuel economy.
This is the main thing why people buy Toyotas is the fuel economy.
Was far and away the winner of our fuel economy testing, which doesn't really surprise when it's the only hybrid we have in the test.
Yeah, it was 12.7 miles per gallon better than the next best car.
Wow.
And that 47 miles per gallon it got on our 200 plus mile loop was better than any of its EPA ratings.
Wow. Yeah, and another thing, in the pro column is that quickness
Yeah.
that you get from that hybrid powertrain. This felt among the quickest out of all of the vehicles.
Yeah, it was the second fastest in 0 to 60, and second to fastest, it lost by 1/100th of a second. Like, it was right there with the fastest in the test, the Seltos, but also the most fuel efficient. How cool is that?
Yeah, no, and coming in at under $30,000, that's really tough to beat. So
Yeah.
if you're on a budget and looking to save money on gas, this is definitely something to consider.
Now, I had the option to get the Toyota Cross, but I opted for the RAV4 because it was sitting a little higher and it has a little more cargo space.
But there are going to be some downsides. So there are some powertrain downsides, and we should start with that. It is noisy. There's just not a lot of sound deadening material, I think, in this car. And the powertrain itself is just really rough.
And that's what you're going to give up when you get these economy cars, is you don't get the insulation to separate you from, you know, the road and the noise of the engine.
Sounding under hard acceleration.
Wind noise, road noise, powertrain noise. It was one of the loudest vehicles in the test for sure, it's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, and we also weren't huge fans of the interior. I think this is probably the most basic interior we've got here. Not really surprising, it is the base model, and
yeah, that's pretty much how my car looks. The RAV4, and Toyota has this around across a few of their models.
nothing else here is at the very bottom of its trim levels, but not a lot of fun to be had. Even the Volkswagen has a little bit of blue for some visual pop. This has some blue stitching on the seats, and that's about it. Pretty much everything else is black plastic.
Yeah, and this is still a $30,000 car, which is not the least expensive in the test, but if you're behind the wheel, it kind of feels like it.
I mean, these are entry-level SUVs, so I get it, but others do it much better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We also need to talk about the Corolla Cross Hybrid's ride quality, which none of us were fans of. I thought it was very bouncy and uncomposed over broken pavement. Joe?
Yeah, when I look at a car and there are multiple wheel options, like typically the smallest wheel will have the most sidewall tire and it'll absorb rough roads and impacts. This is the entry-level model, 17-inch wheels. It does not ride well at all. It has harsh impacts. You really feel it almost reverberate throughout the entire car. It's not comfortable.
You know, reverberate was a word that I was just thinking of too. You hit a bump, terrible bump absorption, and it just goes throughout the entire cabin.
Yeah.
And that's a real deal breaker for me. That overall jittery feeling is just really uncomfortable.
One of the
Yeah, I feel that in the RAV4 also, RAV4 Hybrid. They're economy cars. They're focused on fuel economy, not ride feel.
other areas the Corolla Cross Hybrid scored poorly was in in-cabin storage. And Joe, I know you have some strong feelings about that, so
Yes.
let's get into it.
It's one of those everyday annoyances that there's no place to put your stuff, right? Your keys, your phone, your wallet, and the cubby that's at the bottom of the dashboard ahead of the gear selector, it doesn't fit my phone. My phone will not lay flat, and I don't have a big phone. It's just a normal size iPhone in a case, and it only fits in at an angle, or if I flip it, it's sticking out of the cubby and slides out, and then the actual center console storage is also really small.
Yeah, they're both just strangely sized and not very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found myself using the cup holders a lot for item storage, which is fine if you don't have anything to drink, but if you do, now you're just fumbling for space.
That's
It's not
where I
great.
put my phone.
Yeah.
Cargo isn't the worst. It was about mid-pack, but interior room is a very mixed bag. I was comfortable up front, but not at all comfortable in the back. What did you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I really struggled in our car seat check, especially installing rear-facing car seats. Rear-facing convertible and an infant seat. I installed them, could not sit in the passenger seat in front of them without my knees jammed against the glove box, which is a safety and a comfort issue. So it got very low scores for its car seat check.
The class as a whole now, of the ones that we tested, actually have really good back seats. Except the Corolla Cross. It wasn't even close. There is not a lot of back seat room. You know, your knees are close to the seat back. It's narrow. It's not a place that you want to spend much time.
Yeah, and lest you think that that's a hybrid issue, the backseat measurements for this are identical to the gas version, and we had the same complaints about that backseat. But it's clear that what Toyota spent the money on for this car is its powertrain and its fuel economy and its acceleration.
If you've gotten value out of this video, please watch my other videos and join me on my live streams.